United Republic of Tanzania, the land of the Kilimanjaro, the Serengeti and Zanzibar, is strategically located as a gateway to East Africa and the African Great Lakes region. A rising star, Tanzania is a middle-income country that has averaged 7% economic growth over the last decade. It has a population of about 60 million, the majority of whom are young and economically active, and part of a rapidly growing middle class. Accessible through the Indian Ocean, Tanzania connects to 6 landlocked countries. It also offers access to a sizable market of about 177 million people in the East African community and 350 million people in the SADC region.
Welcome to Tanzania, the land of opportunities. The government is committed to maintain and strengthen ties with the international community. We'll continue to maintain good governance, political and economic stability, which have been our national values. The government is undertaking a number of legal and regulatory reforms to unlock the country and make it potential investment destination. These reforms include investment tax and information technologies regimes. The government is focusing on improving coordinated infrastructure, not limited to cleaner energy provision, railways, roads, ports, and optical fiber network. All this will add to the improvement of investment environment. As we open doors to the world, we believe that with efficient transport system, enough and affordable electricity, coupled with friendly regulatory regime, Tanzania is offering the best opportunity for investors to thrive. Welcome to Tanzania, the land of opportunities.
The Tanzania Investment Center hosts more than 10 government investment facilitation institutions, offering a one-stop center that can give approvals, permits, and licenses all under one roof, easing the process and saving time and other resources pertaining to setting up a business in Tanzania. Agriculture is the mainstay of Tanzania's economy. There are over 44 million hectares of arable land, and only 33% of them are under cultivation. Some of the potential areas to invest in include sugarcane plantations, cotton, coffee, tea, cashew nut and grape farming, horticulture farms, sisal plantations, wheat plantations, as well as bean and cassava farms. One can also invest in the processing of these crops for export.
Tanzania is the second largest livestock producer in Africa, but only 1% of the livestock is processed into value added. About 70% of the high-end value-added meat products are imported. There are very few companies in Tanzania like this which are producing value-added products for the industry. So there is huge potential here in Tanzania.
The manufacturing sector is in its infancy stage, with few exploited areas, whereby unprocessed agricultural commodities have dominated major exports. Tanzania's Vision 2025 envisages an industrialized economy powered by the manufacturing sector, and as such, opens up the country to potential investment, particularly in the area of textile and apparel, sugar, leather, edible oils, heavy industries, pharmaceuticals, tile manufacturing, cable, and plastic manufacturing. A 1,424-kilometer-long coastline, including 3 large lakes, presents a virtually untapped opportunity in fishing. Opportunities lie in deep-sea fishing, fish farming, fish processing, and supply of fishing gear, just to name a few. Tanzania's wealth extends well beyond the surface. Tanzanite, a gemstone found nowhere else in the world, is testament to the country's mineral riches. Other minerals include gold, coal, diamonds, copper, nickel, cobalt, tin, lead, silver, uranium, rare earth metals, ruby and sapphire. Investment opportunities exist in the areas of exploration, mining and processing. Tucked away in Tanzania's 48.1 million hectares of forests and woodlands is investment gold. One can invest in industrial plantations, and commercial harvesting can be done in 20 million hectares, equal to 35% of the total volume of forests in the country. Discoveries of significant natural gas reserves in recent years present an opportunity to invest in LNG extraction, further adding to Tanzania's long list of investment opportunities. Doesn't end there. The country's helium deposits in the west of the country are large enough to meet the world's demand for the gas for 20 years. Tanzania is a tourist paradise. New accommodation, entertainment facilities, camping, lodges, and guest houses of international standards. All these are untapped opportunities. Connectivity is key to Tanzania's ambitious growth objectives. The country has invested heavily in the development of its infrastructure, including road networks, railways, air travel, and ports, which connect all regions in Tanzania, as well as 6 landlocked countries. And in ensuring a conducive investment climate, the government has invested in the Julius Nyerere hydropower station, expected to generate 2,115 megawatts, providing reliable and affordable electricity for the entire country. While in Tanzania, investors can enjoy prosperous living in the bustling cities and in the countryside. One can access world-class amenities such as schools, state-of-the-art hospitals that are fast turning the country into a premier medical tourism destination, as well as financial institutions. Having reached middle-income status, the Tanzanian government aims at soaring even higher, establishing the country as a favorable investment destination and an industrialized nation that provides a high quality of life to all its citizens. Due to very attractive opportunities and favorable conditions, major international brands have already invested in Tanzania as part of their strategy to maximize on wider regional markets and other opportunities. Come and invest in Tanzania.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am Kevin Price, President and CEO of the National Institute of Minority Economic Development based in Durham. And I'm very excited about welcoming you all to this informational session to discuss opportunities in Tanzania. As you see, we have our agenda for this morning, and we'll follow that fairly closely. I'm going to share a little bit of information about the Institute. I'll ask my colleague, Rhonda Pierce, if she will share some additional information and talk a little bit about our relationship with Sister Cities International. Then we'll talk a little bit about why Tanzania and why now. And I'm excited to hear from Syed Iniji to talk about just why this relationship with Tanzania and the embassy. And it's important that we level set a little bit and talk about commodities and the products and services that are available stateside. So I've asked Dr. Kelsey Walker Pope to share some information with you about Maryland and the DC market and what products we may be able to offer the country. Then I'll come back and talk a little bit about who we expect to participate with us and go with us on this trip. And a little bit of logistics will be followed by Kay Gant. And then we'll talk a little bit about next steps and Q&A at that point. And so that's how our agenda unfolds. And so let me share just a little bit to level set about the Institute for those of you who may not be quite as familiar. The Institute is celebrating its 38th year of business this year. So we're very excited about that. and what that means as we close in on 40 years of business. We have a community development financial institution because we often heard from diverse companies that we support that they also need access to capital. And so our community development financial institution is over 26 years old now and in a position to provide financial resources to minority and women-owned businesses, as well as affordable housing related activities, or primarily what we focus in on. Our mission as an organization is to strengthen the asset base of diverse populations. And we do that through our policy work, and you'll hear some of that from Dr. Walker Pope soon. Education, and providing economic opportunities through our CDFI. We have not changed our vision very much at all, which remains economic prosperity for diverse populations. You see our values there around trust, excellence, innovation, and collaboration. But we do a lot of our work through these 4 lines of business: our Research, Policy, and Impact Center, our Center for Entrepreneurship, our Center for Community Investment, and Strategic Partnerships. And then just a little bit on the right side, you see our footprint there. We are a 501c3 organization. And I think it's always important that you know how big the company is and what their strength is in the marketplace. So you have some numbers there. And finally, we support over 5,000 minority and women-owned businesses annually. So I think it's important that you all know that as well. Excuse me. Our role is really to be the collaborator. One of the things we pride ourselves on is being that connector and supporting the diverse business community, as well as our corporate partners, our government partners as well. So we're excited about being a collaborator between the government of Tanzania and our diverse businesses, and making that linkage. So not only are you looking at doing business stateside, but now you have even more opportunities to do business on the continent. Secondly, to align the diverse businesses with the opportunity and make sure it's right for you, and that we support you in connecting with those government buyers in Tanzania. And then lastly, providing support to the diverse businesses who need it. That is through technical assistance, capacity building work, providing financial resources, and any additional connections you may need to make the business opportunity successful. And so that's really our role. And now I'll ask Rhonda Pierce if she'll share some additional information with you.
Thank you, Kevin. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I am happy to introduce myself as Board of Directors for Sister Cities International and a country representative to Tanzania. Sister Cities International was founded by President Dwight Eisenhower back in 1956, and the purpose was to bring peace through people to people and municipality to municipality through citizen diplomacy. This is done through our partnerships between cities in the United States and cities around the world. Sister Cities currently has 8 U.S. cities and that are sister cities to 6 Tanzanian cities. Our collaboration with the Institute, particularly with the Tanzanian Economic Development Summit that's coming up, is fulfilling a Sister City International MOU with the United Republic of Tanzania objectives of expanding business to business partnerships and the area of trade and investment. With that said, the summit is designed to connect the U.S. minority and women-owned businesses and Tanzanian corporates. This collaboration with U.S. corporations interested in or doing business in Tanzania. They will share resources available from the U.S. government and provide information regarding trade and investment processes in Tanzania. We have great collaboration organizations such as Sister Cities, but also the Tanzanian Embassy, the American Chamber of Commerce in Tanzania, the U.S. Department of Commerce, the U.S. Department of State, and the U.S. Embassy in Dar es Salaam. And these are just to name a few. We are continuing to have other collaborations coming. The next webinar information session that we have is this Friday. So anyone that you know that is looking to do business in Tanzania that may have missed today, please be sure to let them know to register for Fridays. This is our last one for the first quarter. We will look at having additional information sessions in May, and so dates will be forthcoming. But our target industries for this summit will be healthcare, manufacturing, technology, agriculture, travel, and tourism. And with that said, it's an honor for me to introduce Syed Nyenge, Economic Officer of the Tanzanian Embassy in Washington, D.C. He is an expert in trade, investment, and multilateral corporations. Syed?
Yeah, thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Kevin, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Saidi Nyenge. I'm a Counselor Economic Affairs here at the Embassy of Tanzania in the United States. So I would like to take you through to why you should consider Tanzania and why that decision should be made now. So first part is why should you consider Tanzania? So Tanzania is one of the fastest growing economies in sub-Saharan Africa, and this has been consistent for a long time. Prior to the pandemic, Tanzania growth was average at 6.9%, and we are continuing to recover. And last quarter of 2023, the growth was average at 5.3%. And according to the numbers that we have, the GDP grew from $69.9 billion in 2021 to $85.4 billion in 2023. And the IMF projected that the economy will go up to $136.1 billion by 2028. This will make Tanzania the biggest economy in East Africa. So the other critical attribute is the stability of the country. Tanzania is a very peaceful and a politically stable country. We have very strong macroeconomic performance. For instance, the inflation rate in the country is very low. In January this year, the inflation rate was around 3%. And we also have a very strong and capable labor force, where the youth population account for 75% of our population, which is 61.7 million people. So when you invest and do business in Tanzania, we have access to a sizable market, both from the domestic market, which has a population of 61.7 million people, but also Tanzania is a member of two economic blocs, the East African Community and SADC, Southern Africa Development Corporation. This market has a combined GDP of about $823 billion. And we are also signatory to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which has a GDP of $3.4 trillion, and the population is now close to 1.4 billion people. Tanzania is a gateway to the East, Central, and Southern African region. We border with 8 countries, of which 6 are landlocked countries. So if you invest in or do business with Tanzania, you have access to these neighboring countries. We do offer also very attractive investment environment. We have a well-balanced package of investment incentive to investors, and this can be seen from the recent ratings that we received. For instance, in May 2023, Moody's Investor Service assigned Tanzania a B2 positive rating, And in June 2023, Fitch rating assigned Tanzania B positive with a stable outlook. So why should we make a decision right now? So I think one of the main reasons is the investment that the country is putting, especially in the infrastructure space, which make Tanzania one of the countries with best infrastructure in Africa. We also undertook very comprehensive reform just to make sure that the investment climate in Tanzania remain sound. And just to give you some examples, just over the past 2 years, the government has abolished more than 232 fees and fines that were obstacle to businesses in various sectors. And we also amended 40 laws and regulations, and this also were intended to further improve the regulatory framework. We also established what we call Tanzania Investors Electronic Single Window, and this was meant to facilitate investors with all the processes from application, certification, permit, license, and authorizations. We also enacted a new investment act, and this also was meant to further improve the business environment. And in 2023 October, the two governments, the government of Tanzania and the US government, we signed a commercial dialogue, and this was meant to promote deeper commercial and investment ties between the two countries' private sector. And in April 2023, we signed a memorandum of understanding with US Exim Bank, and this was meant to provide enabling environment for the private sector to have access to finance, and this will also deepen our trade and commercial relationship. We also have we are at a very final stage of negotiating an MOU with NIMED, our partner, to just to make sure that also we have a sustainable working relationship. So allow me also to give an highlight of the sectors that we target today, which are 5: agriculture, travel and tourism, technology, manufacturing, and healthcare. Just in the agriculture space, Tanzania is a country with the largest arable land in East Africa, and we have 44 million hectares of arable land, of which 29.4 are suitable for irrigation. So for those who want to invest in agriculture space, we have plenty of land. So you are more than welcome to come and invest in Tanzania. But also, Tanzania is one of Africa's top five producers of many crops. But these are just a few examples. We are among the top 5 African top 5 producer of rice, coffee, tea, cloves, cashew nut, and dry beans. Tanzania, we are second largest producer of honey in Africa, and our export volume from the agriculture sector in 2023 stood at $1.2 billion. In terms of travel and tourism, Tanzania has a lot to offer in this space. And just to give you a sense of how beautiful is Tanzania, our country is ranking number 1 in Africa and 12 in the world in terms of natural-based tourism. And this was according to the report that was published by World Economic Forum in 2021. And we are glad that the US is our leading sources of international tourism for countries which are outside Africa. And just last year, to give you a sense of how this sector is important to our economy, we collected a revenue which is amounted to $3.2 billion from tourism. So in terms of technology, one of the strategic areas the government is focusing is to make Tanzania a regional hub for ICT, and we have invested heavily in this space. So far, we have invested in fiber optics, a network which has a length of 8,310 kilometers, which is equivalent to 5,164 miles. So you can see how much we have invested so far, but also to give you a sense of how we are doing in this space. In 2022, the World Bank published a report which ranked our country second in Africa and first in East Africa in terms of effective use of ICT in delivering public services. In the manufacturing space, I think just to give you a sense, we have a lot of potential. Tanzania is the fourth largest producer of cotton, and the world is fourth largest producer of organic cotton. So textile and apparel is one of the area which has a very promising investment environment. But also we are beneficiaries of AGOA. So if we invest in Tanzania in value addition, then one of the market which is ready for you is the US market and AGOA. So the last sector is a health sector. And in this area, just to give you a number, of course, we want to position our country as a center of excellence for healthcare, but we still have a lot of opportunities, if not a gap, because we currently import over 80% of medicines, 90% of medical devices, and 100% of diagnostics. And just to give also a sense of how big is the market, we have medical store department. This is a government agency, is a back supplier for medicine and medical equipment for SADC countries. So if you invest and do business in Tanzania, you have access to the SADC market through medical store department. And just to give you a sense how big and lucrative is the sector, we spend about $800 million to $1 billion to import medicine and medical equipment. So in terms of the export and import, the statistics show that we import more than we export. So we are net importers. And last year, I mean, in 2022, we exported goods that were $6.82 billion. And of course, that was import, and our export stood at, export of goods and services, because we have goods and services. So in terms of export of goods, we exported $6.8 billion, and we exported services of 4.76, which make a total of $11.59 billion. And in terms of import, we imported goods and services that were $16.95 billion. And out of that, goods amounted to $15.65 billion, and services amounted to 1.32. So for those who want to export Tanzania, you can see. And so just to give you a sense, what are we exporting? Our top exports range from gold, Tanzanite, which is, as you might be aware, Tanzania is a sole producer of Tanzanite. We also export coffee, cashew nuts, horticultural products, tobacco, clothes, textile and apparel, and travel and transportation. So who are our major trading partners? On the export side, so our major export markets are India, South Africa, United Arab Emirates, Kenya, Switzerland, China, Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and others. So in terms of import market, we have China, United Arab Emirates, India, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Japan, Kenya, the United States, Turkey, Germany, and others. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you in Tanzania.
Thank you so much. I'll now discuss an industry overview, particularly from Maryland, and our next slide will be from DC. As you can see on our left-hand side, aerospace products and parts, $3.15 billion business in terms of exports. So there's a wonderful opportunity to consider this industry, as well as you can look at the list here. Pharmaceuticals and medicine are major industry and very much important to not only those in the US, but abroad, and in particular, Tanzania. Motor vehicle parts, you can see the dollars for the various industry areas and opportunities to be considered when doing business in Tanzania. On the right-hand side, you'll see the Tanzanian imports from the US. Machinery is huge. Again, there's vaccines and human medicines, cereals as well. Again, we're looking at aerospace products, airplanes, helicopter parts as well. And so Tanzania also really wants to encourage US companies to provide these particular goods and services because they are crucial areas to help with Tanzania in terms of infrastructure development, commercial and residential construction as well. And again, I can't emphasize enough medical care, providing medical care. Next slide, please. And similarly to that of Maryland, you'll see some overlap with regards to the exports concerning Washington, D.C. You'll see again, aerospace products is again one of the top areas there. You see a $685 million business. And it goes on down to navigational, medical control, and instruments, around 36 million as well. And on the right-hand side, again, very similar to the needs that have been expressed when we're talking about doing business in Tanzania and how it could be not only beneficial to businesses, but also to the residents and those in Tanzania. So these are some critical areas that have been identified where there is a need. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Walker-Pope. I appreciate you giving us some information that was critical to just what the opportunities are. And Syed, thank you as always for sharing what's happening from the Tanzania side. Now I think it's important that we talk a little bit about who we expect to go with us on this trip. And we've really broken it down into 3 areas. And you can see the first is the Gold Key group. That'll be probably be the smallest team of minority and women-owned businesses. Those are the ones that'll be intensely vetted by the Department of Commerce. But the benefit or value of that is the Department of Commerce supporting you and engaging with you and helping connect you with buyers on the Tanzania side from a procurement perspective. And so they are holding your hand and walking with you along that journey the entire way. The second group is the general attendees, which if you all have attended our executive networking conference, it'll be very similar to that experience. We expect 50 to 60 individuals in that group. who will attend sessions that will talk a little bit about what's happening on the Tanzania side as well as the American side and where opportunities are. So we've got a lot planned for you uh, over the course of the time we're in the country. And then that third group is really stakeholders. Those are folks who support minority and women-owned businesses. They could be nonprofit intermediaries to corporations, to elected officials, to bankers, and a number of other people in that space. The dates for our trip, and I know some of you all received our early communication that talked about our dates being in July of 2024. We actually changed that to 2025 because several people mentioned to me and others on the team that they wish there was more time to prepare, and July was just a little too soon. So we rescheduled it for March 10th through the 14th of 2025. We'll be in Dar es Salaam. We did choose a American hotel, the Hyatt Regency, because we felt it was important that you have some resemblance of American experiences that you would be used to. And since many of you will be new in terms of experiencing Africa, let alone Tanzania, we thought it was important that you have a well-rounded experience. So day one is travel there, which will be a long day. Day two, we're focused on Tanzania and what the opportunities are from a Tanzania perspective. So we'll hear from dignitaries as well as procurement leaders and many others who will talk about what's available and how we should, what the expectations are that we should expect. So you hear a lot of that day two. Day three is more US focused. We'll talk a lot about what Gold Key means, as well as what resources are available to you from the US government. The ambassador will be there, Ambassador Battle, who will also engage along with his team to talk about how they can support those who are attending and participating as well. And then the fourth day is a cultural experience. We have several exciting opportunities that will be available to you all to engage during that day. We will have a pretty exciting wrap up dinner that night, and then we will head back on day five. So you'll be pretty tired by then. And so we'll have a follow up afterwards to just debrief and think through next steps and how we can support you in making those connections. Okay.
Good morning. So if you're interested in joining us in Tanzania, you need to start preparing now. As Kevin said, the event will be March 10th through the 14th of 2025 in Dar es Salaam. We estimate the cost to be between $6,000 and $7,000 per person. And that cost is driven by the hotel, flight, event registration, ground transportation, participation materials, etc. It will also include the cultural experience. Should you so desire, there will be 3 options in that space: event meals, receptions. It includes travel agent fees, event planner fees, etc. We will also have, excuse me, we will also have what we call a customer care experience, which means you will have access to a 1-800 number should your flight be delayed or canceled or whatever, you miss the flight. You will have someone that you can call that can help you navigate that process and get you back on track. The fee does not include visa fees, and it does not include any CDC recommended immunizations. Now, after this session is complete, we encourage you to complete a very short survey. The survey is only like 3 questions. It should take you less than a minute. That survey is critical because it tells us if you are interested in joining us in Tanzania. If you are, then you will then start getting regular communications about the process for registering, any significant information that you might need, our Q&A that will eventually be on our website when the registration portal opens, etc. The registration portal is scheduled to open in June. So more information will be provided at that time. The portal will include everything that I just talked about, your hotel, the registration of the event, the options for the cultural experience. The only thing it will not include is your flight, because we don't know from month to month right now what the cost of a flight will be. But the overall cost that I shared with you, that 6,000 to 7,000, even though you might be redirected to book your flight, it's still that $7,000 number still includes that cost. So that's why we've got a range. Again, you'll need to apply for your visa. One thing to note, you cannot apply for the visa more than 90 days out from the event. So if you decide you want to join us, again, more information will be forthcoming regarding that process. And again, if there are immunizations required by the CDC, we encourage you to start working on that, again, around 90 days out from the event.
Thank you, Kay. So my suggestions to you all, if you don't have your passport, now is a good time to start that process. So I would encourage you to get that done while we schedule some additional follow-up sessions. You're welcome to attend those. We do plan to have a session later in the year that will be a little bit closer to departure time. And that's when we will remind you all of the visa that you'll need to apply for. But let me just back up a moment and say that none of this would be possible without a lot of people working behind the scenes. You've met some in front of the scenes who've been working on this. But I'm excited and very appreciative to Ambassador Kanza and Syed and Yinge for supporting us, as well as Rhonda, who's done a lot of work connecting us and bringing in additional partners with sister cities. My team has been invaluable in terms of making sure we're communicating with those of you who are interested in going with us on this trip. But we'll also stay involved with you after we return and support you as well. So I don't want you all to think that this is just a one-off. We're going to go on this trip and that's it. We plan to stay connected to you and make sure you have the resources you need to be successful doing business in Tanzania. And then there have been a host of government agencies that have been involved. Some of those you'll meet in later sessions. Some you'll meet when we get there because they'll be involved in the sessions and providing additional information to you, as well as a host of intermediaries who've been involved as well, some of whom plan to go on the trip with us. So a lot of people have been involved in this. We've got a lot of buzz going on right now about attending. Don't wait until the last minute to register. It's important that you go ahead and get that done as soon as possible. You can do a payment plan. I think Kay mentioned that. So there is an opportunity for you to do that. But if you're like me, waiting to the last minute is not a good thing. So it's important that you go ahead and get registered as soon as possible and let us know how we can support you in the process. And so now I think we are at question and answer. And we've got some of our team members who are fielding questions in the chat. And we'll open it up for Q&A. Any additional information any of the team would like to share? Now's a good time to do that.
So thank you, Kevin. I probably need to elaborate a little bit more. In the booking portal, in fact, we just worked this out with the technician that's working on the portal for us. There will be 3 options for a payment plan. And it really depends on when you register. So if you, as soon as the booking tool opens, if you register in June, you'll have a little bit longer to pay. If you wait until September, it's going to be shorter, obviously. And if you wait till November, December, then you're really up to paying the full freight. And the booking tool, the payment portion of the booking tool, as far as the multiple payments, will close December 31st. However, after December, if you register, you'd have to pay the full price at that point. So wanted to elaborate on that. That's a new development this week.
And our registration portal goes live when?
June. It'll be in June. Don't have an exact date yet, but I should be able to narrow that down pretty soon.
Yeah. So Melissa, just responding to your question in the text in the chat box, it will go live in June. Now you're on our radar, so we'll make sure you get the information for the registration link. Any other questions anyone has? Or comments from the team?
Oops, got another question. Can you see it, Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So David, I'm happy to talk with you offline. We look forward to your participation. So I think you know how to reach me, but I see your number. I'll jot it down and make sure we get connected.
Yes,
David,
Kevin.
we have.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Rhonda. I was going to just let David know we have big plans for you. So you are totally on my radar as well as Kevin's.
We got another question.
Yes, Melissa, we will send it to that link. Thank you. And also be sure you answer the survey before you exit. In fact, as soon as you decide to exit, it's going to immediately, that survey is going to immediately pop up, and that's going to be our clue that you're interested, and we will make sure you get all communications going forward.
And Karibu to David. This is Rhonda Pierce, and I just want to say that this is an awesome opportunity to have guidance throughout this process. There's a lot of people who do engage in business in various parts of the continent that may get stuck along the way because they didn't have this guidance. They're not aware of the laws and the rules and the different requirements and so forth. So we have the Tanzania Embassy as a partner in this summit, in this opportunity for a trade mission, if you will. And I just encourage you that if you know anyone looking to do business in Tanzania, to encourage them to come to Friday on the 22nd to hear what you've just heard. It won't be specific to any state. It'll be a little more global to the nationwide, but it will be an opportunity for them to hear what you've heard and then start preparing. Again, this is just an awesome opportunity. We don't usually see this led by individual companies to have this opportunity. So just want to encourage you to get others on board as quickly as possible so that they're ready to go when it's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. I would echo that and just encourage you all to share this information. We don't want it to be a best kept secret. So feel free to share this with other colleagues, share it with suppliers that you work with, as well as other diverse business owners who you think could benefit from this. Any additional questions, comments? All right, so next steps for us, you will receive some additional communication from us about sessions, to Rhonda's point, that we will schedule later this year. One will be incredibly important later in the fall, as we get closer to the end of the year. to talk about next steps and preparing for the trip. We'll make sure you all get that communication and are aware of upcoming sessions or anything else we need to communicate out. You're on the radar now, so we'll make sure you get that information.
Kevin.
Rhonda or Syed, there's a question in the chat box. Syed, this might be more helpful for you.
Syed. Syed, the question is, can you explain a little more the need in technology in Tanzania? And you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Rhonda. Maybe what I would say, the market for technology is too big in Tanzania from domestic to the regional market. Currently in Tanzania, we have internet subscribers of about 36 million people. So you can see connectivity and data, how big is the market. But again, I've said Tanzania is positioning itself to become a regional hub. So we have also facility up to the village level. And we have that connectivity up to the border. So we have endless opportunities in Tanzania. So apart from maybe data, then we have facilities that are necessary for people to have access to information, to data. So anyone who needs specific information about our market, we are more than willing to provide those information. But all in all, what I can say, the environment is good and the market size is also good. Thank you.
Thank you, Syed. Would you say that you're in need of more hardware, software, or both?
I think we need both, and especially if I look at the market, we have a very good environment for startups. If you are aware, we have what we call the Silicon Zanzibar. So Zanzibar is one of the areas that we have dedicated space area for just to nurture startups, especially in the technology space. That's what I'm saying. The market is good. The environment is also good. What we can promise to suppliers and investors, just they can share with us their specific needs, and then we can see how best to work together.
Another question, Syed, is around coding. How are you all looking in terms of coders or having those who support in the coding space?
I think we welcome people, our investors in all aspects, including coding. So, but I know specifics will differ from one company to the other. So as soon as we establish what their needs and what their capabilities are, then we can see how best to link them with appropriate stakeholders in Tanzania.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So David, I hope that answers your question. Hill, I hope we got your question answered. Any other questions, comments from the group? All right. Well, thank you all. I think we're going to be ending a little short today, so I'll give you some time back. But stay tuned. More information to come very soon. You all take care and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.